Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Discipline is key whether it involves building your health or wealth. A steady diet of investments can go a long way into building a healthy portfolio. So, if you are serious about building a fiscal fitness regimen, then welcome to NSE Finviz Season 5, powered by CNBC TV 18. I'm your host Gautam Srinivasan, and today we are at Manchar at the manufacturing plants of Parag Milk Foods to discuss everything one needs to know about systematic investment plans.
Founded in 1992, Parag Milk Foods is today one of India's elite private sector dairy companies, boasting of a diverse mix of 15 consumer-centric product categories. The company prides itself in providing the best global source of expertise and scientific knowledge in support of the development and promotion of quality cow's milk and milk products. And just like Parag Milk Food promises to offer a healthy lifestyle to its consumers, NSE Finviz caught up with Parag's employees to offer them a future-safe, financially healthy lifestyle through investments.
Finance literacy is required for the ordinary people because of they don't have a knowledge of the financial investment. So it's required for the every people.
I don't do any kind of investment for now. So I would like to ask them if I want to start my own business, what suggestion they will give me. Like if they can tell me what kind of investment from where I should start the investment. So that would be really helpful for me.
I would like to understand what will be my retirement corpus after 45 years. If I wanted to retire after 45 years, what should be my corpus?
I would like to ask them to have an investment plan by which I can achieve 2 crore rupees at the time of retirement.
Welcome to NSE Finviz Season 5, powered by CNBC TV 18. Today's topic of discussion is systematic investment plans, or SIPs, and we are at the offices of Parag Milk Foods. And to explain the concept of SIP and the ups and downs associated with it, we have with us two experts, Hemant Rustagi and Nikhil Kothari, to tell our audience here of working professionals what it means to invest via SIPs into the universe of options that they have. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. So let's start with a basic primer for the audience about what is SIP, what does it count as a vehicle for?
When you invest through SIP, which is systematic investment plan, you make a commitment that every month I'm going to be investing so much money, which is already decided. You also decide where this money is going to be invested. You have different asset classes. What are asset classes? You have equity, you have debt, you have gold. There are different asset classes where you invest. So you make a commitment. So first you decide how much you're going to invest every month. Then you decide in which asset class you're going to be investing. And then you decide which fund are you going to be investing. So it's a commitment that every month I will invest X amount of money on a fixed date in a pre-decided asset class and a pre-decided fund.
For the audience's benefit, take them through the advantages of an SIP for them.
First advantage is that it brings discipline. Second thing is that SIP can start as low as 500 rupees. SIP can start as big amount as you want. So it's not that you need a very high amount to start an SIP. Third thing is that SIP can be linked to any goal. You can do SIP in equity fund also. You can do SIP in liquid fund also. You can do SIP in debt fund also. Depend on what you want to do. Same thing you can do an SIP for each and every fund. So it's completely flexible. You can start SIP at any point of time. You can stop SIP at any point of time also. There's no penalty. Whatever amount already accumulated will keep on growing. You can increase your SIP at any point of time. You can decrease your SIP at any point of time.
At this point in time, if you can mention to them about the importance of financial goals and how to align SIP as an investment vehicle to attain their financial goals, and of course answer the question of what sort of mathematics they should look at in terms of what percentage of savings they should put into SIP. That will be great for them to understand about the concept.
So generally it is said that 20 to 30% of your salary should be set aside for investment. But I think that will depend on each individual. When you assign your goals, you also decide what is the target that you need to achieve. When you invest for long term, suppose for your own retirement, which may be 20, 25 years away, you need to invest in an asset class like equity, which tends to be volatile, but also has the potential to give you very high return as compared to other asset classes. So that money should go into equity. In the medium term, it should go into a mix of equity and debt. The short term, because the priority has to be safety of capital, that money has to go into debt. So assign each of your investment to different goals, and that is where SIP plays an important role. As we already discussed, SIP means a commitment to invest. And the biggest problem that we have as an investor is that we invest whatever is left. In SIP, you commit, which means you first invest and then spend the money, which means you will get compelled to do budgeting, which most of us don't do. So if I'm spending X amount of money, I will go back to the drawing board and make a commitment and then see how much money I can invest and how much, is there any wasteful expenditure that can be curtailed. So I think it may sound a very simple thing, but it starts a chain of events for you, which is why it is very important to follow the right procedure and invest through SIP, because that is what brings the discipline into your investment process.
All right. And Nikhil, what are the typical mistakes to avoid when using SIP as an investment vehicle into fund?
When you're doing an SIP, you should normally do in diversified equity fund, because when you're doing an SIP, you're committing for long term and you're investing every month on month. Avoid SIP in very, very riskier fund or any sector fund, because in sector fund, getting in, getting out is very, very important. The one thing which you should never do is that never stop your SIP. If you continue SIP, once the market rebounds, all your returns will be taken care.
All right, on that note, we'll take a short break. We'll be talking about the broader points of systematic investment plans. When we return, we'll be talking about the fine print involved when it comes to using SIP as an investment vehicle. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. Welcome back. You're watching NSE FinViz Season 5, powered by CNBC TV 18. The topic of discussion is systematic investment plans. Now, diving right back into the conversation, Hemant, tell us about the use cases of single versus multiple SICs across asset classes. If you could elaborate it to the folks here.
If I'm investing for my retirement and I'm investing, let's say 10,000 rupees, so it has to go into equity. Now, whether it should go into one fund, whether it should go into more than one fund is again very, very important. All the money should not go in one fund, because if that fund for some reason does not perform for a certain period, your returns will get affected. Second, in equity market, there are different segments. There are large cap funds, there are mid cap funds, there are small cap funds. By investing in more than one fund, you give yourself an opportunity to invest in different segments, invest on different dates, but remember one thing, don't have too many funds. Okay, don't invest in 10 funds for 10,000 rupees. Invest maybe 2 or 3 funds. You can invest in a multi-cap fund or a large cap fund or a mid-cap fund. If you can't decide how much should go into a large and mid-cap, go into a multi-cap fund.
Do you think hybrid funds are a good starting point, Nikhil, for a lot of the folks who have not yet started investing?
Hybrid funds can be broadly divided into 2 parts. One part which is called as MIPs, which basically invest around 75% to 80% in debt and 15 to 25% in equity. And there's another segment where hybrid funds, which is called as balanced fund, which invests 65% to 75% in equity and 25% in debt. Now, depending on individual risk appetite and time horizon, you can select one of the hybrid funds. The good part in the balanced fund is that they are treated like an equity fund from a taxation perspective. So after 1 year, all your money is tax free. So people who are first time investor wants to invest in for long term, but do not want to invest in all money in equities, they can go for balanced fund.
Okay. Now, for a lot of people who say start an SIP and suddenly they get a windfall amount from some source that they have, what would you suggest to them? Because we are talking about the lump sum versus SIP kind of an aspect in terms of risk management. They already have, let's say, 2 active SIPs going. Suddenly they receive a windfall. What do they do in that case?
If you get a lump sum money, there's always a dilemma as to what do I do with this money? Where should I put this money? I think always follow that goal-based approach. Tendency is that if I got some lump sum money, let's enjoy this money, but let's not ignore our goals. So wherever you feel you've not been able to invest the kind of money required to achieve your goal, that money should be assigned to that. So that means if you have a shortfall for the long term, go for the long term. If you have a shortfall for the short term, go for the short.
At this point, let's get in some of the audience members to list out the goals that they have mentioned in the cue cards, and let's see what the experts have to say about how you can attain those goals. So the first name I'll be calling out is Pramod Ananta.
My goal is to go to world tour after 10 years.
Okay, so you want to become an investor and do a world tour. So for that, the amount that you want to accumulate is 50 lakhs, if I've got that right. And every month you can save 10,000. And your time horizon for doing all of this is 10 years.
But you need to be very clear that 50 lakh is today's cost, or whether you consider inflation, which is going to be there in travel 10 years from now. So the first thing you need to look at your target, whether the target is at today's cost or the cost you expect to be there after 10 years. If it is not, then you need to factor inflation in. Clearly, even if it is 50 lakh, with 10,000 rupees, you cannot achieve that goal because obviously there is going to be a huge shortfall. Now, the important thing is, what do you do at this stage? You must begin investment with whatever money you have. In terms of investment, it should go into equity because you have a 10-year time horizon. My recommendation would be go in for some multi-cap fund, which invests around 50% in large cap and 50% in small and mid cap. So invest through SIP, invest in multi-cap equity fund, increase your investment over the next 2-3 years. I'm sure you can achieve your goal.
The next person I'll be calling out is Sufiana Sheikh, if you could get up.
My target is to give the best education to my children, and I want to get the money about 70 lakh rupees in next 5 to 10 years. And the current my investment is monthly 32,000 rupees.
You have to have a very clear time frame because your time frame will decide that what asset class you should select in. Say for example, if you have a time frame which is only 5 to 6 years, then you should invest in a balanced fund. If your time frame is for 10 years, then you should select a pure equity fund. So depending on your time frame, you need to select the asset class. And when you are closer to your goal, you need to move money from risky assets to safer assets.
I hope we've answered your question. Thank you. And the third person I'll be calling out from the audience for their question is Dr. Bhalera, if you could get up.
My goal is after 15 years, my own business.
So Dr. Bhalera here wants to start his own business and he's looking to accumulate 25 lakhs. He can invest around 15 to 20,000 and his time horizon is 15 years. So what would be your recommendation?
You need to invest in equity. You want to start your own business. Okay, so when you invest in an equity, you need to think like a businessman. Okay, what is equity? When you invest in equity, you become a part owner of the stocks which are there in your portfolio. And the problem with most of us is why we get jittery when the market goes up and down, because we look at it purely from an investment point of view. So if you're invested in a fund, and if you believe that in the next 3-5 years, the fund is not doing very well, don't hesitate to change it. But don't be in a hurry to change it. Every fund manager will go through a phase where 3 to 6 months the fund will not do well. Allow the fund manager to perform. Monitor your investment, and I think the kind of investment you are making right now, you should be able to achieve your goal.
All right, I hope we've answered your question. And on that note, we'll take another short break. When we return, the floor is open to the workforce here at Parag Milk Foods to ask their questions on financial planning and wealth management to our experts here. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. Welcome back. You're watching NSE Finviz Season 5, powered by CNBC TV 18. The time is now for the workforce here at Parag Milk Foods to ask the questions that they have on financial planning to our experts here. So let's have a show of hands. Who wants to ask a question? All right, we'll go with the gentleman first here.
To start SIP, Demat account is necessary or not?
You can invest in a traditional method by filling up application form. You don't have to necessarily have a Demat account. But if you have a Demat account, you can also invest through Demat account. So you have both the options available to you.
All right, the gentleman there.
My question is how trustworthy this SIP is as compared to traditional investment platform like fixed deposit and life insurance. Do you suggest me to withdraw my money from current investment, what I'm doing in the insurance segment, and put it into the SIP?
Your FD is an investment, but your insurance is not an investment. Insurance is the insurance that it protects you if something happens wrong with you. Your family will get lump sum money which will help them to survive financially. Now coming to how trustworthy SIP is. SIP is a mode to invest. Now through SIP you are investing in mutual funds. Now mutual funds are regulated by SEBI. So it's an independent body, it's a regulator which regulates the whole mutual fund industry. So every day the fund houses gives you NAV, you know how many units you have got, You multiply both the things, you know your portfolio value. So your portfolio value may go up and may go down short term, but your money is not be ciphered off, your money is not invested in wrong product. Your money is invested based on what you have given them as a broad mandate. So withdraw from insurance to investments, again depend on what type of insurance you have bought in. If you bought a term insurance, just hold on to it. If you bought any other instruments like endowment and all the stuff, their return will be very, very low. So if you want to really create wealth, you should invest to SIP in equity market.
All right, you have a follow-up question? All right, go ahead.
That's term insurance I will continue for, but the insurance policies which I took initial days, it was a part of investment and part of the insurance for myself. So I'm thinking about that investment which they are taking as an insurance plus investment. Should I go for SIP and keep the term plan continue for my securities?
Okay. So depending on what products you have bought, you need to look at that, what is the cost to get out now, what is the surrender value for surrendering those policies. So you need to do that evaluation and then only take a call. So if a policy is very, very new, then you can surrender the policy, okay, because the charges, and then reinvest that money somewhere else. But if your policy has been old, then the charges will be very high because what you surrender, what you get back will be very, very low amount. So just hold on to that. But in future, don't do any insurance come investments. Do investments separately, insurance separately.
All right, I hope we have answered your question. I believe the gentleman there had a question.
My question is that beside the SIP, should I invest in a cryptocurrency?
Well, I think let's understand, you are at a stage of life where you need to build corpus for different requirements of your life. But that's an investment which, you know, one, it is not recognized in India, it's not legal. When you have so many other options which may not be giving the kind of return, you are getting from this investment option. But the fact is that you have equity which has given fantastic return. You have so many other options where you can invest. I think at this stage, invest in something that you can understand. I mean, people are still struggling to figure out what it is and what is this phenomenon all about. So you don't want to be among the first one to get in there and burn your fingers. I think focus on traditional, focus on equity, focus on debt, focus on these kind of asset classes which you can understand. There has to be an underlying asset. In those, there is no underlying asset. So I think my advice to you would be just stay away from that. Build your corpus, build your investment through the method that you understand, through the asset classes that you understand, rather than getting into something like this, which is very, very difficult to understand at this stage. That's too risky, actually.
All right, I hope we've answered your question. One last question. Anyone from the back?
I have an option. Shall I go with banking sector, companies who are doing SIP, or going to some private sector company? First question. Second is, we had an impact of demonetization. So certain things can impact SIP also?
Both the mutual funds are regulated by SEBI only. So there's no difference between whether you go with bank-sponsored mutual fund or any private mutual fund. Be not biased towards bank or private. Just go with the fund which is doing very, very good, which has a reasonable AUM and which meets your criteria. So based on that, you select a fund. Now coming to second question, that do demonetization affect the SIPs? Now demonetization is basically taking on cash. When you're doing an SIP, you're only doing all banking transactions. So money comes from bank account, invested in the fund. When you redeem, your money comes back to a bank account. So there's nothing called cash element involved in the whole mutual fund industry. You don't invest through cash, you invest through bank account only. Now, demonetization do impact the markets, do impact the economy and all this stuff. That's a separate thing. But because of that, your equity market may slightly go up or slightly go down. And on that, your portfolio value may go up or may go down. But there's no direct impact of demonetization to SIP.
All right, on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of NSE FinViz Season 5, powered by CNBC TV18. The topic of discussion has been systematic investment plans. And of course, I'd like to thank our experts for sharing their insights on the topic, the working professionals here at Parag Milk Foods, and the audience watching at home to learn more about financial planning. Stay tuned to CNBC TV18. That's a wrap for now.
Overall event is very good. We understand that how and when we have to invest it, and it is no time bound to invest. Any time with any minimum amount, even if you are having 500 rupees, you can invest on that.
Today we came to know about how to systematically invest, be it a long-term, mid-term or short-term goals. So definitely it will help in realizing my dreams.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.